Act 2 of Raiden Shogun's character story quest is currently my favorite character story quest, but the ending cutscene can be confusing for some people. This video, I will try my best to explain what happened and possible theories from this explanation. To best explain, I'll give a quick summary of what happened in the entire story quest, then dive into the analysis of the two cutscenes and that entire final part in general. This will have spoilers for Raiden Shogun's Act 2, and if you care about that and haven't played that story, I highly recommend playing through it first. For the context of this video, I will refer to each Electro Archons as A for the main Archon, Makoto for her sister, and Raiden Shogun for the puppet. Let's get started with this video. The quest begins with the Adventurers Guild telling us about a request from the Yashiro Commission. Apparently, there are Rift Towns attacking the roots of the sacred Sakura tree, and we offer to go investigate. After being surrounded by them, we were saved by A, and we decide to work together to fight them off. As we were taking care of them, the purified filth coming from the Sakura tree became memories that we were able to talk to. Through these memories and A's own experiences, we learn more about what happened 500 years ago. It turns out that alongside the Cataclysm, the event that doomed Conria, Inazuma was also in peril of being invaded by monsters led by the Rift Towns. One of her closest friends, Kitsune Saigyu, died protecting Inazuma. We also learn more about A's relationship with her late sister, Makoto, the original Electro Archon. Both strive towards eternity, but while A's eternity was more towards a moment that doesn't change, Makoto's eternity focused more on change, continuous evolution, rather than eternal stasis. Unfortunately, Makoto died 500 years ago in Conria, but A was not told that she went there until she heard the bad news. By the time A arrived, Makoto was unconscious and A went into her realm of consciousness to bid farewell. Odd enough, the sacred Sakura first appeared when A came back, but others stated that it existed and did not question it. A believed that it was a result of Makoto's consciousness when she brought it back, and thanks to the sacred Sakura, Inazuma was saved from the invasion. After we took care of the Rift Towns, we learned something was wrong with A, and she took us into Makoto's realm of consciousness. It turns out A's body, the Raiden Shogun puppet, was rebelling against her. The reason for this rebellion is because of A's established rules for herself. When the Raiden Shogun was created, there were rules, kind of like coding a program, and if A breaks those rules, the Shogun will be forced to rebel. In this case, A, understanding a new point of view regarding eternity, appeared as rule violation, and out of fear that it could be erosion, the Raiden Shogun started to rebel. As such, A and the Raiden Shogun began to duel, but knowing that this duel would last for years, A pushed us out of the realm and told us to entrust Yaemiko with the future of Inazuma. Of course, we, including Yaemiko, were not okay with that, so with Miko's help, we were able to return to Makoto's realm of consciousness. On the way, we noticed some interesting moments with the flow of time, but continuously focused on finding A, which helped us find her. Odd enough, while it took minutes for us to get back in, A was fighting against the Raiden Shogun puppet for 500 years. Luckily, the next duel will be the last, and at long last, A won. Interestingly enough, her sword was glowing the entire time, and it turns out that her sword, Musou Ishin, was entrusted to her by Makoto. After the duel, a fragment of Makoto's woe appeared and explained to A her reason for going to Conria, although it was rather vague. Before saying goodbye one last time, Makoto entrusted A a seed, and it turned out this seed grew into the sacred Sakura in the past. The same sacred Sakura that saved Inazuma from its peril. After going over exactly what happened in that realm and considering a possibility that Easteroth, the god of time and moments, was involved, A was determined to lead Inazuma like her sister, now that she also got the Raiden Shogun's approval, and abolished the Sakoku Decree. Now that we know what happened in this character story quest, let's do a deep dive into some of these moments. First off, we need to go over the elephant in the room. What on earth is up with Makoto's realm of consciousness? When we first enter into that realm with A, nothing of normal seems to happen. We just see a duel between A and the Raiden Shogun before we get kicked out. The second time, it turns out that this realm is in chaos, and to locate A, we have to focus constantly on our wishes as we go inside, otherwise we will be swept to an unknown corner of space-time. As we go in, we first see glass break into many shards. After that, we see a tree going backwards and Tenshinkaku being built at a faster speed, almost like time is flowing backwards and forwards. After that, and being reminded by Miko to focus, we see memories on these shards of glass slowly turning through the duel between A and the Raiden Shogun. Looking at it closer, these memories that were shown, while very hard to see, were actual moments or locations we've been before. The moments and areas include the battle between the Sangonomiya Resistance and the Tenryu Commission, the mountain where the Grand Narukami Shrine is located, the Jade Chamber, specifically the battle against Osayo and or Beisht, and interestingly enough, a field of Cecilia flowers. But more we focused, more of these memory shards turned into the battle of A and the Raiden Shogun. We were able to make it into that realm, but it appears that time flows differently in that realm compared to the outside world. Because again, A has been dueling for 500 years, while it took us only 10 minutes to re-enter that realm. And again, the duel seems to come to an end with A victorious, and Makoto's wool appears from the sword, giving A a seed that goes into the sacred Sakura in the past. A stated that when she came back to Inazuma, she didn't recognize the sacred Sakura, while others said it existed for a long time. This is actually an example of a time paradox, an event of the future that affects the past, and in this case, is the planting of the sacred Sakura. And as A stated in the end, the reason why she doesn't know about the truth behind the sacred Sakura back then, 500 years ago, was because she hasn't reached the moment when she planted it. To quickly summarize, you travel into that specific moment in the realm 500 years after that duel began. While A plants the seed in that realm, it was transported and planted in the past and grew into the sacred Sakura tree, where the Grand Narukami Shrine was built. The next major part to explain is the events that happened 500 years ago, the Cataclysm. This disaster caused the downfall of Conria, but Inazuma was also in danger of being destroyed. Again, A explained that the Rift Towns were responsible for bringing in more powerful monsters. Here's where I find some issues with timelines, as it is unclear exactly when the Rift Towns and the Golden Wolf Lord was made. The Abyss Order consisted of people from Conria after its destruction, so the question remains when Gold, an alchemist of Conria, created the Wolf Lord and Rift Towns. I cannot go deeper into this without moving on to the connection between Genshin and Honkai, so let's move on to that. Before I move on, this will spoil pretty much most, if not the full story of Honkai Impact 3rd. This also includes the 2 visual novels, Second Key and Alien Space. If you care about the story of Honkai and do not wish to get spoiled, feel free to click off the video here. However, if you have already played through the main story or do not care about spoilers, then we can move on. We only had small hints proving this, but thanks to this story quest, it is officially confirmed that Genshin Impact and Honkai Impact 3rd are connected within the multiverse. To give a quick explanation of the multiverse, it is a hypothetical theory that explains the existence of multiple universes, and it cannot be proven nor denied. Honkai's take on the concept of multiverse is that there is the existence of bubble universes. These bubble universes are alternate worlds or timelines that have their own plane of existence, their own laws of space and time. One of the most notable realms is known as the Sea of Quanta. This realm does not follow the normal rules of space and time and is the location of many bubble universes. In addition, there is the Imaginary Tree, the origin of timelines and bubble universes. With this knowledge in mind, let's begin the comparison between Genshin and Honkai. First, we have Makoto's Realm of Consciousness, where the flow of time is unstable. It is very likely that this realm is a bubble universe very similar to the Sea of Quanta. However, there's also the entrance to this realm that should be considered as well. I believe the entrance is also similar to the Sea of Quanta, with the fractured memory shards possibly hinting at the moments in the timeline you could be transported to. In other words, alternate bubble universes. There are 2 statements from Yae Miko. If you try and force your way in, you could be swept away by a giant wave that sets you down in an unknown corner of space-time. And only if you are strong enough can I deliver you to the right destination. If this sounds familiar, that's because it is the Genshin counterpart of 2 moments in Honkai. Seal's and Bronya's willpower to come back from the Sea of Quanta, most prominently shown in chapter 12 in Seal's perspective. The other moment is in chapter 28, Olive's resolve and willpower to rescue Colin, except his situation is in the imaginary space, which has similar properties with the Sea of Quanta. Again, one thing in common between these two moments is their will to save, mirroring the Traveler and Paimon's will to save A. If Sela, Bronya, Otto, and the Traveler did not have strong willpower, they would have been lost in space-time and possibly dead. We even saw the danger of that happening as well, Sela being torn by the Void monsters, Otto being impaled and almost killed before saving Colin, and again, the many moments in the shards, different moments in the timeline the Traveler could have gone into. Next, we have another aspect of Makoto's realm of consciousness, specifically the Sakura Seed. I believe that this is a counterpart to the Seed of Sumeru, the bubble universe that was passed down by Sue to Bianca, who is also known as the Rondo. In the end of the second key visual novel, Sue entrusts the Seed of Sumeru bubble universe to Bianca, stating that it will help with the fight against the Honkai, a disease that has a 100% mortality rate. Makoto gives A the Sakura Seed, which grows into the sacred Sakura in the past, which saved Inazuma from the peril of the Rift Hounds and other monsters. Therein lies the similarity between the Seed of Sumeru and the Sakura Seed. Now, going back to the comparison of Makoto's realm and Sea of Quanta, there is a Sakura tree to consider as well. As shown in the second key, at the duel between Kevin and Sue in Sea of Quanta, and even in chapter 12 where we confront Kevin, there is also a Sakura tree visible. As such, I believe that Makoto's realm of consciousness is a reference to both Sea of Quanta and Seed of Sumeru, with this passage switch also being a reference to Sea of Quanta. Next, while it doesn't connect with the multiversal theory, there are some fun parallels that can be pointed out between Genshin and Honkai when you look at the relationship between A, Makoto, and the Raiden Shogun. First, the duel between A and the Raiden Shogun is symbolized as A finding her past self, since the Raiden Shogun was made based off of A in the past. However, after the final duel, the Raiden Shogun promises to continue being her Kagemusha, her shadow warrior, something that A was to her sister. This is probably a reference to two different pairings in Honkai. First is Kiana Kaslana and the Herrscher the Void. This arc started in chapter 8, but the moment I'm talking about is in chapter 25, when the Herrscher the Void meets her end after one last battle against Kiana. The Herrscher meets her end as Kiana moves on, from becoming the Herrscher of the Void and becoming the Herrscher of Flame Scion. A and the Raiden Shogun reconcile and they both end up surviving, which leads into the second pair, Sela and Veliona. Veliona is a different personality developed within Sela's stigma. Their arc does have two different climax moments and both of them are similar to A and Raiden Shogun's relationship. In chapter 12, Veliona chose to help Sela, becoming a scythe, her weapon. In chapter 23, we see Veliona and Sela's conflict, but in the end, they both accept each other, just like how the Raiden Shogun becomes a shadow warrior. The last comparison is A and Makoto, and the only pair I could think of that would be similar to this is again, Bianca and Sue. Lastly, I will be explaining two comparisons, but for this video, I won't be going over two in depth. First is the Rift Towns and the other monsters invading Inazuma 500 years ago. The Rift Towns are likely a reference to either Honkai Beast or the Sky People from Alien Space visual novel. As was shown in the World of Herrscher cinematic, we see Honkai Beasts breaking through the fabric of space, leaving some openings that will summon more Honkai Beasts. Also, going back to the second key visual novel, the Sacred Sakura saved Inazuma from the Rift Towns, just like how the Seed of Sumeru will help Bianca fight against the Honkai. However, the Alien Space visual novel explains that the Sky People sent Vanguard stones to first gather information about the world that they will later invade, and the fact that the Rift Towns will be described as leading Vanguard should be pretty self-explanatory. The other comparison is that Leylands contains memories of the past. Because this topic is so huge, I can't go too deep into this. The basic summary is that there are entities that form from the filth of the Leylands, but once purified, they become an interactable memory. I believe that this is comparable with the imaginary tree since it is the location of infinite timelines and the birthplace of bubble universes. Not just that, but there is an item called Leyline Sprouts, and the description states a tree whose roots once spread out to every corner of the world, and this branch is said to be part of it. This is very likely referencing the imaginary tree. So here we are, at the end. Now, knowing that Genshin and Honkai are very likely connected by a multiverse, there is another aspect of the multiverse that I haven't explained yet. We know about the bubble universes, being alternate or parallel worlds. However, there's also the concept of variance that should be explained. Next time, we will be looking into this concept with the Genshin and Honkai characters, and see if this concept will actually reveal more about the future story of Genshin Impact.